Hello people, today I'm back with another recipe from Deliciously Ella. This time a coconut Thai curry with chickpeas. This is an oven dish, so it's not going to be quite as quick as some of the others. I've got my ingredients here, I'll show you. So there are 2 tins of tomatoes, 1 tin of chickpeas, 2 400ml tins of coconut milk. I couldn't find tins of coconut milk, so I have, oh sorry, it's quite dark. So I've got this, which I'm going to measure out. There, you need a 2 to 3 centimetre piece of fresh ginger, which you have to peel and grate. You need some chili flakes again. 1 large butternut squash. Something just happened then, there was a flash. Don't know what that was. 1 large butternut squash, 2 medium aubergines, and a handful of fresh coriander freshly chopped. Well, I'm afraid I can't afford any more coriander, so I'm just going to use ground coriander this time. 3 teaspoons of brown miso paste. I think I used this once before, I can't quite remember. Anyway, I bought some more. And then brown rice to serve and just salt and pepper. So I'm going to get on with my ginger and my vegetables, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Just a quick tip when you're grating ginger, because now I'm grating my knuckle every now and then. Don't cut the, however long you want the piece to be, don't cut the 2 or 3 centimetre piece before you grate it, but rather grate, sort of envisage 2 or 3 centimetres on a longer piece, grate to that point, and then you avoid skinning your knuckles as I'm doing now. Ginger is a really awkward thing to grate. Look at that, it's all kind of stringy and hairy. Right, okay, that'll have to do, I'm afraid. I'm not a very fussy cook, I get quite impatient. Anything aside from books and music, I get quite impatient. 400ml times 2, okay? Well, actually this goes up to 800ml, this jug. My goodness, I don't think I'm going to have enough. Oh yes, I will. Thank goodness for that. Okay. So there's 800ml of coconut milk. Put the coconut milk, 2 tomatoes, grated ginger and chilli into a large saucepan. Okay, here goes the coconut milk. Now the problem is, I put my chickpeas in with the tomatoes already because I thought they'd be added together. And now it says add only the tin tomatoes to the saucepan. Well, I'm afraid I'll just have to add all of them. Add it all together. Okay. Got a pretty kind of strawberry colour. Add the grated ginger, okay. And the chilli. Now how much chilli? 1 to 2 teaspoons, okay. 1. Very loosely, 1 to 2. They were small teaspoons though. With a sprinkling of salt and pepper. Allow to heat until boiling, okay? Just give it a quick stir around, mix everything up. Okay. Then the recipe says, as it heats up, peel the squash and cut both the squash and aubergines into bite-sized pieces. I've never actually prepared a squash before, so I presume you just de-seed it after cutting it in half. Wow, there's a lot of seeds in here. I could do with one of those melon baller things. Just going to get my fingers in, I think. Wow, there's so many seeds. Good grief. And it kind of goes down inside as well. My goodness gracious me. It's almost kind of the whole bottom pendulous part of this is filled with seeds. and the seeds stick to you and you can't get them off. Okay. I don't have a peeler, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. Oh. Oh. It's boiling, so I have to take it off the heat, and because it took me so long to do the butternut squash, I'm very behind now, but I'm going to cube it. I'm going to cube it into bite-sized pieces, pop them in the pan. I've sometimes wondered if I'm dyspraxic, which my oldest school friend is dyspraxic, and I know it's a spectrum, so people can have degrees of it. The most obvious way to describe the disorder is to say that someone is very clumsy. I'm kind of awkward rather than clumsy, and funnily enough I can do quite fine work, like when I made the miniature people, or some quite detailed drawings I did a long time ago. And so I guess I'm quite deft in some ways, but you'd never believe it to watch me cooking. Maybe it's just my brain is very chaotic, so I don't do things in a nice orderly way. And I'm always trying to think of the shortcut. Maybe that's the problem. Or maybe I just am really awkward as well. I don't know. I'm certainly awkward socially. Maybe that goes along with being awkward physically. Maybe the whole thing stems from an emotional kind of stress in the brain. Who knows? Anyway, there's usually an awful lot of work after I finish cooking to clean up because of the slightly chaotic way in which I work. And I've watched other YouTubers, and I was going to say it's quite intimidating because they're all so neat, but actually there are some which are hilariously messy when they cook things, and sometimes not even that hygienic. Well, I'm hygienic, hopefully. This is what happens when things get out of control, and they have got out of control. I put the mixture in a massive frying pan because the saucepan, it was overflowing the edges, and it's even too much for my enormous frying pan. The main problem with almost all of these recipes in this Deliciously Ella book is that they're enough to feed an army. You really need a bucket to cook it. I don't even think if I went to town and looked for a saucepan I'd find one big enough. And the trouble is, once you've measured out all the ingredients, it's a bit late and you just got to do something with it. I've still got one whole aubergine to go in. I've had to turn the cooker off because, well, of all the spillage. I was going to start filming again when I had everything under control, but I thought, why not share the chaos? So I don't have an oven-proof dish big enough. I've got two. I have to somehow get the contents of this enormous frying pan into these two bowls. I've lost my ladle, I don't know where it is, so I'm doing it with a bowl. And I don't have time to put a plaster on my finger, so I'm sucking the blood as I go. I don't know how the heck I'm going to get the liquid into these bowls. Right, so now I've preheated the oven. I did something right. Peel, no. Cook for 30 minutes in the oven. Okay, then you have to add a couple more things and place it back in the oven for 30 minutes. Good grief. Okay, 30 minutes. In we go. I actually have an oven glove, but I don't want to get blood on it. Right. Oh, goodness. Okay, let's just check it's the right temperature. 180, yeah, okay. When it comes out of the oven, apparently what I have to do is add the coriander. Now she says here a handful of fresh coriander. Well, seeing as I've got ground coriander, I'd imagine just a generous pinch, as it says on the box. Then you add the chickpeas. So obviously that was the point at which I should have put the chickpeas in. And the miso. I add the miso and 3 teaspoons. Now these are little sachets. I may as well measure it out now. I think 3 teaspoons is more or less 1 sachet of miso paste. Okay, just going to try a little bit of this. It's alright actually, just a bit concentrated, right. Okay, so that's all I add is the coriander and miso paste in 30 minutes. So I'm going to set a timer. Alexa, set a timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes, starting now.
It's ready, she says, when the squash is soft. So you bake, So you bake the mixture for 30 minutes, you add the coriander, miso paste and chickpeas, then you put it back in the oven for 30 minutes, and when the butternut squash is soft, it's ready. And I want, what next to do? Serve the coconut curry with the brown rice. Store any leftovers in an airtight container. Okay, I'll see you later. These oven gloves are so stiff, I can't grip the dish. In fact, they're quite dangerous. Okay, so as you can see, well, you can't really see, but the butternut squash is soft. And actually, long before the second half an hour was up. I guess perhaps that's because I put them in two separate dishes. But good job I kept an eye on it because I wouldn't want the vegetables cooked to a pulp. Let me just bring you up here. My knife sinks in to them like they're pineapple, or yeah, so definitely done. It was quite tricky putting the miso in halfway through, and I'm not sure it's I was able to stir it in and distribute it properly. So I'll just do that now. I'll just give them a stir while a bit of residual cooking is going on. And unfortunately, because I had to cook the dish in 2 containers, the flavours might be slightly different. But I'll mix it all together when it's cool enough, try it and report back. Aubergine's great consistency. It's got a real kick at the back of the throat. Butternut squash cooked to perfection. It's really, really nice, very nice. If anything, I'd like it to be a little bit more savoury, so maybe some tahini or hummus or cheese on it, but it's a real success. It's a really good recipe.